When you discovered the pornography, did it feel like you had been cheated on? Even if your partner said something like, it's just a screen, or it doesn't mean anything, or the one that I hear all the time, everybody does it, but yet something inside of you reacted immediately. Maybe you felt hurt. Maybe you felt replaced. Maybe it felt like the person that you trusted most in the world was directing something intimate towards somebody else instead of you. And then almost immediately, another thought shows up. You start questioning yourself. Am I overreacting? Why does this hurt so much? Is this really betrayal? If you've had those thoughts, you're not alone. I hear this from partners all the time. So today, I want to talk about something that creates a lot of confusion in relationships. I want to explain what is actually happening in the brain, why pornography can feel so much like cheating, even when someone insists that it isn't. I want to show you how it affects intimacy between partners and most importantly, how couples can begin to heal once they understand what's really going on. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Welcome back to Sanity After Betrayal. This episode is brought to you by my HarperCollins published book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. If you've struggled with porn use or betrayal from a partner, this book can help you understand the brain behind it and help heal your situation. So go over to drtrishleigh.com/book. Okay, so the question is porn cheating? And this creates a lot of conflict between two people that are having very different experiences at the same time. One partner may genuinely see pornography as entertainment, something separate from the relationship, something happening on a screen that supposedly has nothing to do with real life. But then, on the other hand, the other partner experiences it very differently. Many partners say that the moment that they discover their partner's porn use, something inside them broke. Others say they instantly felt replaced. Some even describe it as suddenly feeling that they were competing with a screen. And if that was your reaction, it doesn't mean you're dramatic or overly sensitive like you might be told. It means that your attachment system reacted to something that felt like intimacy being redirected away from you to something else. To understand why this reaction can be so strong, we have to talk a little bit about the brain, one of my favorite things. Pornography strongly activates the brain's reward system, which is largely driven by dopamine. Dopamine plays a major role in motivation, learning, and reward. And one of the things the brain does very efficiently is learn from whatever it experiences repeatedly. The brain wires itself around patterns. Pornography delivers something the brain finds extremely stimulating, very high reward combined with endless novelty, new faces, new scenarios, new image. And from a brain's perspective, endless novelty is incredibly powerful. Over time, the brain can start expecting that level of stimulation all the time. Now, this is the really important part. That doesn't mean that the brain is broken per se. It means the brain has adapted to the environment that it's in consistently. The brain always adapts. But those adaptations don't stay isolated inside the screen. They start showing up inside your relationship. Partners often begin noticing subtle changes. Sometimes their partner feels more emotionally distant, less present, or less engaged. There may be less interest in intimacy or less connection during intimacy. Many partners describe it in a very similar way. It feels like slowly that person is becoming lost to them. This is often the moment when people start realizing that something deeper is happening than just someone watching something online. it becomes pervasive. Another pattern that sometimes appears is confusion around arousal itself. Some couples notice that arousal works with pornography, but suddenly becomes unreliable within their relationship. That can be extremely confusing and painful for both people involved. What this often tells us is that the brain has practiced arousal with one very specific type of stimulation. When the brain repeats a pattern enough times, it becomes more responsive to that stimulus and less responsive to others. So, in many cases, this is all about conditioning, not about the body failing at all. But at the same time, the emotional impact on the partner discovering the pornography can be very, very real. Human attachment systems are extremely sensitive to where sexual attention is directed. Many partners immediately ask themselves some very painful questions, honestly. The number one being, why am I not enough? Others say it felt like intimacy in the relationship was being redirected somewhere else. Why? And many describe feeling like they were suddenly competing. That never feels good within a relationship. Those emotional reactions make total sense when you understand how human bonding actually works. Another layer couples often notice is that emotional intimacy begins to change. High stimulation environments don't just affect sexual response, they can also affect mood, motivation, and presence. Partners sometimes notice withdrawal or irritability or lack of engagement. Many say it feels like the emotional closeness is slowly disappearing. So, what starts as something that supposedly doesn't mean anything can very much begin to influence your relationship in significant ways that feel vital to you. And this is where we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This isn't just a relationship problem. This is an environment problem. Modern men and really modern human beings are living in an environment of constant stimulation, overstimulation. The internet provides levels of novelty and intensity that the human brain was never designed to handle. In many ways, what we are seeing today is a battle between the human brain and the internet. Understanding that bigger context can sometimes shift how couples approach this situation in and of itself. Instead of fighting each other, they can start looking at the real challenge together. If you're a partner trying to open this conversation, one approach that can sometimes help is introducing this. It's information instead of accusations, which I know can be difficult. Arguments tend to trigger defensiveness, but education can open the door to curiosity. Instead of saying, you need to stop, it might sound more like, I've been learning a lot about how this affects the brain in relationships, and I want to understand this together. Sometimes sharing educational videos or clips can introduce the topic without feeling like it's criticism. This can be really important for both of you. For couples who want to understand what's happening on a much deeper level, tools like brain mapping can be incredibly helpful. Brain mapping allows us to see patterns of brain activity and to identify signs of overstimulation or neurological dysregulation in the reward system in the brain. From there, we can begin retraining the brain using tools like neurofeedback and other regulation practices. The really hopeful part of the situation is that the brain is plastic, it can change. Patterns that were learned can also be unlearned. New patterns can be learned. And couples often begin healing when the dynamic shifts from me versus you to us versus the problem. The real challenge usually isn't each other, It's the environment that the brain adapted to. When couples understand that, they can begin working together against the problem instead of fighting each other within it. So, back to the original question, is porn cheating? Well, it's complicated. Pornography may not be physical infidelity in the traditional sense, but it absolutely can affect the brain, intimacy, and emotional safety within a relationship. Because when the brain becomes conditioned to respond to a screen, real connection can be harder and harder to access. That doesn't mean the relationship is hopeless. What it means is that the brain adapted to an environment it was really never designed for. And when couples understand that, they can begin addressing the real problem together. That is not each other. Because in many ways, the real battle, the real issue today is not partner versus partner. The real battle is the human brain versus the internet. And when the brain changes, your relationship can change too. I hope that helps. And until next time, stay sane, my friend. I'll see you then.